Hey everybody, Radaman here for my first episode of my Europa challenge. If you haven't watched the intro video and are curious about the rules and restrictions of this challenge, go ahead and watch that. I'm not going to cover that here. Here, I'm just going to jump straight into survival mode. So I'm going to lay out the floor print of what I'm going to call a Shackleton Shack. If you don't know who Shackleton is, YouTube it, or not YouTube it, Wikipedia it, because it will be interesting to you for sure. And what I'm doing here is I'm building the walls, and I'm going to save the campfire for last so that it doesn't burn needlessly into the open air. So while Cross is locked inside, I'm going to lay out the floor print for my future base. It's going to look something like this. Very fancy, I know. Very, very fancy. I make the fanciest bases. So the inner ring is going to be my farm and maybe a bed. The outer ring is going to be crafting tables and comms console, etc. Stuff like that. Speaking of comms console, we'll lay that out here. I'm going to disallow it because obviously that's not the first thing I'm going to build here. I need power for it first, right? So here's my power generation, and run some conduit for a battery, but I'm not going to build the battery initially either. I'm going to go ahead and make a heater. So the first few things I'm going to make is the turbine and the heater, so I can break down the campfire and recover as much fuel from the campfire as I can. Tis the hope. What else am I going to need? I'm going to need a simple research bench as well, but I'll disallow that as well. Alright, so we are still shivering here. I'm going to keep him inside a little bit longer. Get rid of all that lingering hypothermia. But we are literally burning daylight, so I'm eager to get started. So first things first, let's haul 65, which is just an arm load of steel there, and haul it to the turbine as well. Trying to do this as fast as possible. Alright, so we still don't have that bad hypothermia. It's going to set in soon in a second. Alright, haul a component to the heater, forbid the door, break down the campfire. And we get 17 wood back, which is swell because we can toss that in a research bench. And I'm also going to queue up a bed, but I'm going to disallow that right now too. Speaking of beds, let's change their sleep schedule to get a little less sleep, or a little less required sleep, and change the outfits so that we only wear untattered stuff by default. Of course, I could always force them to wear it. Change the drug policy to absolutely, positively no drugs, no matter what. And the reason for it is because drugs alter your consciousness, as does hypothermia. The two effects compound, and you get knocked unconscious a lot easier. So the next thing I'm going to make is the battery and the comms console. I'm going to get started on that. And I guess we're bringing steel over to the research bench, so I disabled that. How are we doing on heat? So we have minor hypothermia. We're obviously going to need to take shelter before we finish off this comms console, because we are getting a little too cold here. So that's enough. Because if you try to construct while you're hypothermic, and unfortunately for me, the power got cut, so I'm still a little hypothermic. If you try to construct while you're hypothermic, you'll fail, often, because it hurts your consciousness and your manipulation, and that makes your constructions worse. So I'm just waiting until I warm back up a little bit. I'm really hoping the wind picks up, because that's not a lot of power. Alright, so there we go. We have that built. And I think before I even bother with the research bench, first things first, there's no one in orbit. Let's go ahead and make a good old-fashioned bed. So I want there to be no hypothermia, or no ill effects from hypothermia, which is 4% or less, before I bother making the bed. So I make the best bed I possibly can, which is to say a good one. Well, I can settle for that. I was hoping for superior, excellent, no, maybe even legendary. No, not really. I wasn't expecting a legendary bed. Alright, so the wind is picking up a little bit, giving us a little bit of battery juice. So right now, I gotta say, I'm at the mercy of the oh, God. Speaking of which, mercy of the elements. I need a roof, really badly. Because I'm gonna short circuit without one. Cross. Yep, I didn't get there in time. Alright, you want to eat? Fine, but please build that roof that I just queued up. Thank you. That was dumb of me. I thought of it, but I wasn't able to build it in time. Alright, you're already hypothermic. Let's have you go make your research bench. I'll lock you in there for a moment, because you're getting cold. So eventually I'm going to roof up the whole floor print, but initially that's probably enough. Alright, so let's get you some research. And when I run out of all my hypothermia, I can go and roof up the floor print, the blueprints of the base. And then eventually, you know, make a proper stockpile, make the orbital trade beacon, etc., etc. That stuff comes soon. I also have to make sure that this polar bear that started down here that I mentioned in the intro video doesn't come eat me. So I have to kind of keep an eye on that as well. Lucky me. But actually, I'm really happy about that polar bear because that is a good source of meat that is sort of hand-delivered to me pretty early on. I think the hares are a bit too far for me to hunt. They're like physically too far away for me to safely get to. Alright, we're almost dangerously hypothermic, so let's pop back inside. We actually don't really need the orbital trade beacon on. But let's make a trade zone. So I'm going to carve out the floor print here to shrink the trade zone a little bit, but that's a pretty good trade zone. And then I guess we'll have a dumping zone that I'll put down here. And we'll arrange that. And let's take a look at this bear here. Still not hunting me. Okay, that's good. A little bit more time. And it's sleep time. Why is it sleep time? I don't know. Actually, I think it's work time. Yep. You're not that tired yet. One thing I'm going to go and pull the trigger on really early on is a joy object, which in this case will be a horseshoe pin, because without it, we go crazy. Okay, here comes the bear. So let's get warm real quick. The bear's going to wander around not knowing what to do while I get warm, because it can't hunt me while I'm inside. I guess I could have been researching this whole time, but oh well. Alright, Mr. Bear is now sleeping. I'm going to let it sleep. Let sleeping dogs lie, and I'm going to go to sleep. And I only have a little bit more stuff to haul back into storage here. Most of it's over the roof already. Speaking of storage, let's get rid of the stockpile 1. Let's name these trade and dump. Short and sweet. Alright, so as soon as this bear wakes up, it's probably going to come for me. Yep, here it comes. Yep, let's get ready for that. Slow time down a little bit and start shooting. How hypothermic I am. Minor. That's going to affect my shooting performance. So let's pop inside and not get mauled to death. One thing I wanted to do was to manage the areas here. I'm not going to have an animal area for a while, I bet, or ever. But I wanted to set up a shelter in place, which is, which will be just stay inside without locking the doors. Because if I forbid the door, Cross here won't repair it. Oh, you little cheeky bastard! You're eating my meal. Alright, might get hurt. Oh, no, I dodged. Perfect. I thought I was going to get hurt there. I didn't want it to eat my my survival meal. So I've now turned this bear into a manhunter, which is kind of a good thing because it will stop trying to eat my meals. Oh, and it's already dead. Wunderbar. And in Alpha 18, they've changed it so that you have a combat log. So I hit it. I mean, here's all the shots and whatnot. most of it's just going to be like, you shot the bear, you shot the bear. So I'm not going to go over that combat log right now, but it's pretty cool stuff. Check out in combat. See how skillfully or clumsily you shot and defeated your opponents. So right now, as it is, I'm a bit at the mercy of the Storyteller, whether it sends me a orbital trade or not. I flirted with the idea of calling in a caravan, a supply caravan, but the thing is, it costs me so much silver to call them in, and then once they get here, they're going to be like, oh, it's too cold, and they're going to leave. Or at least that's my worry, so I've decided not to do that. But one thing I can do is start digging out all this deep snow, so that I can move around my base a little bit faster. It's only going to really get colder and colder and colder because I'm right now in early summer and pushing towards midsummer. Maybe it gets briefly warmer, but then I head towards winter and it'll get colder. So the less time I have to spend moving around in deep snow around my base, the better. So I'm going to definitely have some downtime in this first episode, and I can go over some of the Alpha 18 mechanics and additions with you guys if you are interested. Obviously, I'm not going to wait for you to say, I'm interested or not. I'm just going to do it. A lot of you have probably already read the patch notes, but I can go over them. Some of these mechanics I'm not going to see in this playthrough, which is unfortunate, but maybe I'll have a playthrough when Alpha 18 gets fully released and not just this unstable test version, and I'll play through, I'll think of a playthrough that allows me to see some of those game mechanics. So the first of the game mechanics, or the first of the additions, I should say, is swamps. So actually, let's take a quick look. I am sure I have some swamps here. So here is a temperate swamp, and here's a cold bog. And then there's also a tropical swamp, and there's really no chance there'd be a tropical swamp on this planet because it's too damn cold. Actually, is this tropics? No, it's boreal forest. Yeah, it doesn't really get warm here. Like at the equator, if we look at the terrain, it's still frigid. So no chance for tropics. So yeah, there's a few new biomes, and they're a lot of fun. They're actually pretty challenging because there's so much ground cover and tree cover that it's really difficult to make bases there. So actually, on my playthrough, I might do a like tropical swamp playthrough or something like that. I'll have to think of it. I'll have to think it up a bit. But I usually like my playthroughs to have finite goals so they don't go forever. Because the ones that go forever, I get a little bored of playing it. I'm sure you guys get a little bored of watching it, and the viewership numbers dwindle. There are 6 new incidents. I'll probably only see 2 of them. One is a meteorite impact, which I could see, which is basically a chunk of ore or stone, about the size of my base here, a little bit smaller, that lands and is mineable, which is pretty cool. Sometimes it lands, just like sandstone, and you're like, great, who cares? And then sometimes it lands like a giant chunk of like jade or gold or plasteel, although a lot more rarely, and that's pretty cool. Another incident I might be able to see is an aurora. In fact, it should be likely. I don't know if it's coded in that nearing the poles it increases in frequency, but obviously aurora borealis or aurora australis. Right now I'd be a borealis because borealis is the northern lights, australis is the southern lights. Is just sort of like a solar flare and eclipse. It's a weather effect, but it improves your mood, and that's all it does. It doesn't muck up anything. Some of the incidents I'm not likely to see, tornado. So I was playing a little bit of Alpha 18 before I did this playthrough, and I had a few tornadoes, and they're devastating. Oh my god, are they devastating. Everything they touch gets basically destroyed, and if it hits a pawn, that pawn is very likely to die. So one of the tornadoes that hit my base straight on destroyed some bedrooms and clobbered one of my pawns, cracked a bunch of ribs and a femur, and messed the pawn up. Nothing fatal, nothing permanently debilitating, but it was pretty bad. It made me realize how bad tornadoes are, at least in the game. The tornadoes in real life are pretty bad too. But I'm not likely to see a tornado here. I could be wrong, but my guess is it's coded so it doesn't happen in certain biomes. It only happens in, forests and deserts and the like, and probably not on sea ice because it's not conducive to tornadoes. But once again, I could be wrong. I could be hit by a tornado. And for a sea ice playthrough, that would be very, very devastating. In fact, it could be fatal. If it broke my cabin and I didn't have the materials to rebuild, I'd be dead. I'd be straight up dead. There'd be nothing for me to do but die. And some of the other incidents, peace talks. So on a peace talk quest, um, you're encouraged to send your best negotiator to go to a neutral location to have peace talks with a faction you're hostile with. And if the peace talks go well, your relationship might be improved, or you might even become non-hostile. If the peace talks go poorly, they could ambush you and try to kill you, or your relationship decreases. Usually your negotiator, regardless of how the peace talks go, gains some skill from attending the peace talks, so it's a good way to get some social skill. But I don't think I'm going to get any peace talks because it's just too damn cold where I am, so no one's going to send peace talk people to my location. So I just got my first escape pod drop, and I think what I'm going to do is go and strip him and take his pants. It's negative 59 degrees out, which is, what is negative 59 Celsius? Negative 59 Celsius is negative 50 Celsius degrees. So it's not super, super cold, so I'm able to move around the map without, instantly dying, which means I'm also going to take the slag chunk as well. And eventually I want a kill box here, so I was actually going to plan out a kill box design. And the reason for it is because I want to bury hostile and non-hostile pawns separately. So I'm going to have Cross warm up a little bit. Have him warm up a bit before he goes back out there. Actually, he's going to manage to go to sleep first. And the reason I want to separate the pawns, the non-hostile and hostile pawns, is the hostile pawns are kind of like trophies that I want to keep track of how many hostiles I've killed, and the non-hostiles I want to bury separately for that reason. All right. So here we are, day 6. Jesus, it's been a long time. No orbital trade beacons. So basically, I would have to say, if I don't get any orbital trade beacons at the end of this episode, I'm probably not going to survive long term. And not just any old orbital trade, but good ones. Bulk goods or exotic goods. And the reason for it is, if I don't get some additional materials for trade, I won't have the ability to grow my own food, and then I'll starve sometime in the winter. And I don't want to mention how many attempts I've made of this, but I've played Sea Ice enough to know if you don't have a strong start, you're dead. You don't usually recover from a bad start. That's just the way it is. So my non-hostiles are going to be buried near my wind turbines. My hostiles are going to be buried in my kill box. And the kill box eventually will be deadfall traps and turrets, if I can afford them. Alright, let's go ahead and bury Lang. I think is what his name was. Yep. Let's go ahead and bury Lang. Give him a proper burial. It's about negative 52 Celsius or negative 62 Fahrenheit. I don't have that mod that shows both because it hasn't been updated to RimWorld Unstable Test Patch. So you'll have to forgive me for not being able to provide that information. So this guy has a toque and a parka. It's crappy, but it's probably warmer than what I have in a pinch. So I'm going to warm up right now so I can fight him. Actually, rather than just standing around, let's research warm up. And Bowen here is Prosophobe, Chemical Fascination. Wow, I can't even speak. Must be the hypothermia. And he's got a little dagger, and he's going to die. A very uneventful death here. Alright, I'm going to go strip him to recoup his stuff. Alright, so the dagger here is worth $1. I'm not even going to bother hauling that into my stockpile. But the toque and the parka, regardless of its economic Okay, so one thing I was going to do is... Oh, I already did it. I already changed my drug policies. I'm just wearing a 51% toque. Let me drop this 51% toque because I don't want to wear it out for no reason. And I'm going to go finish bowing off and bury him. A little bit of hypothermia already, but enough that I can go ahead and bury him. Why am I cleaning up way out there? Let's fix up this home area a little bit to be more reasonable. Alright, so first raider and first escape pod. And they're buried 50 meters apart from one another. So basically I'm at the mercy of the storyteller, whether she sends me a bulk goods trader, a exotic goods trader, or some cargo pods that are useful. And if she doesn't, you know, I'm going to be in a bad way, I think is the simplest way to put it. So fingers crossed. So now the temperature is dipped down to about negative 88, mostly because it's nighttime. That's negative 66 Celsius. At night, it gets colder. During the day, it gets warmer. I don't really know why there's day-night cycles, because there really isn't. It's like lit roughly 60-ish% all the time. And it doesn't really ever get darker. But whatever. Let's pretend there's day-night cycles, even though I say there's not. So one thing I'm going to hold off on, but I might need to do pretty soon, is go ahead and give Cross here some joy time. So assign a time maybe right before bed for a little bit of joy. Maybe I'll even do an hour before and an hour or two joy and then anything. There we go. A nice gradient. And that way we can be happy when we're sleeping and right when we wake up. We'll do something like that. All right, so I'm surely hoping that we get a trade ship. But I have really no control over whether it comes or not. And one thing I could do is I could call in a trade caravan and try to ambush it. But me versus like 15 caravanners, that's not going to go very well, I don't think. Plus, Muffalo don't die so easy. You know, they're a little hard to kill. All right, so refugee needs shelter. What is my faction going to be called? The Celtic Crosses. No. The Seamen. I don't know. Faction. The Europans. Yeah. And then we'll be called Europa. Alright. That's not very creative, but whatever. So this dude has synthread pants that I'm going to want. And the Raiders have a muffler wool jacket that looks pretty good to me. And a parka that looks pretty good to me. Camel hair tribal wear. That's pretty insulating. I don't know how far Scottish is going to get before he collapses from Armia. No, he might actually get all the way here. But I will not be taking anyone in until I have a very solid food grid. What are you doing to stop? Oh, you're shooting. He had a shot briefly on Scottish, but Scottish outran his ability to pull string and fire. Alright, so Scottish is starting to get severely hypothermia. I think they're all probably going to die. I'm not going to let any of them live, so let's go ahead and make graves for them all. Yep. That's how confident I am about this fight. Unfortunately, the fight comes in the middle of the night, which causes me to have to wake up and fight and whatnot. Alright, let's kill Pig. Scottish here, I want running all the way to my stockpile, because I'm going to have him drop his pants. I want the pants. Alright, unfortunately I accidentally shot Scottish, didn't I? Twice, in fact. Alright, let's strip him. He still has those pants. Biko here outside. Let's warm back up. Biko here outside is... Is he going to freeze? No, he's not even going to freeze. Alright, so that really nice parka is getting away from me, but what can I do? I guess we're not burying 3 bodies, just 2. Scottish died. Where'd Biko go? Did he already make it out? That was fast. I guess I did speed time up, so shouldn't be surprising. So let's bury Scottish first. Bury them there. That's a pretty nice steel knife. Pull that in. Alright, work on this grave. Bury our friend Scottish, who we did not know. Work on the other grave. I was hoping Scottish would be a rival, because they like burying, killing rivals, or having rivals die. And we're just about done with our initial research. And I'm going to go ahead and only queue up electric smelting, and then we'll break down this wooden research bench. So far, no orbital trade ships, no cargo pods, no nothing. But I guess that gives me time to talk about the other new Alpha 18 things. So there's a world refugee quest. So at the start of every game, you create multiple pawns now, and some of the pawns don't start with you. They're like missing, and you have to go find them. There's also a prisoner rescue request. Same sort of deal there. You can go quest to rescue prisoners, either people that didn't start with, or people that got captured. There's a huge rework for combat log. So now there's like way more interesting melee that reports blow for blow, misses, swipes, blocks, and falls in combat. There's also gun research has changed. So if you look at the research tree, after machining, it's not just like guns. It's gunsmithing, blowback, gas operation, and precision rifling. So gas operation allows me to do LMGs and shotguns, automatic shotguns. And then precision rifling is assault rifles and sniper rifles. So it's like a tiered system of better, and then eventually charge shot way up at the top. That requires a multi-analyzer. So that's a bit different than before. There's also some new furniture. So there's a dresser and end table, which improves the comfort of your bed. Here they are, end table and dresser. So they're stuff that you can put in your bedroom to improve the bedroom, and as you can see a little white line of improvement. There's different sized tables, so now you have a 3x3, a 2x4, which is old school, 2x2, which is old school, and this little 2x1, which is new. And they're pretty cool. I really like the additional sizes there. What else? So then there's also some new quests. I'm not going to go too far into them. I haven't actually experienced very many of them, but they're for like super powerful items, like a chem reactor that produces free chem fuel if you power it forever. You know, stuff like that. Pretty cool stuff. Very, very, very cool quest rewards. They're challenging quests. Usually you have to go raid or attack or something like that. So they're not easy, but they're very, very rewarding. And then there's a whole lot of new tribal content. So there's new weapons and bows, and there's different classes. So there's like berserkers and archers and heavy archer hunters, and there's new tribal clothing, etc., etc. And then there's a bunch of new mental breaks. So there's insulting spree, which is just you go around insulting random people. There's target insulting spree, which you insult the same person over and over and over and over, like a fight, but with words. Bedroom tantrum, where you go to your bedroom and you smash everything. Targeted tantrum, where you target a valuable item somewhere in your base, like a statue or something valuable, and you try to smash it to bits. Then there's also a statistic Sadistic Rage, which you beat up your prisoners. Corpse Obsession, where you dig up corpses and you plop them in high traffic areas. Catatonic, where you curl in a. I mean, if anyone has a wimp, you know what catatonic is, but you have a psychological breakdown and you get downed in the spot where you are, wherever you are. There's Jailbreaker, which your colonist tries to break out prisoners. Slaughterer, where you slaughter your farm animals, your colony animals. Murderous Rage, where you try to hunt down and kill a colonist or prisoner randomly chosen with your fists, fortunately, so you have time to stop it. And Run Wild, where you basically turn into an animal-like state and you have to be tamed to rejoin, which I think is hilarious. That one's particularly funny to me. But then the opposite of breakdowns, you have inspirations. So when your mood is really high, you can have inspirations, which allows you to do certain things better. So there's a Work Frenzy, which gives you global work speed of 2.5 times for a day. Go Frenzy, which gives you a move speed of 1.5 times for a day. Shoot Frenzy, which allows you to shoot at a much improved rate for 3 days. And then Inspired Trade, Recruitment, Surgery, and Art, which allows you to do trade, recruitment, and surgery and art at your next one much, much better. And then you probably already noticed, if you haven't played, but you probably already noticed there's place names, like the Dasku Ice Sheet or the Banley Ocean. That's a new feature. Place names is a new feature of Alpha 18. In the mountains, you sometimes have caves that form naturally, and they are filled with some interesting mushrooms and the like. Crop blights are a bit different. So instead of crops instantly disappearing, they become diseased, and the disease slowly spreads. But if you cut the crops that are diseased, and it's pretty obvious what the disease looks like, there's an animation for it, there's an icon for it. You stop the blight from spreading around. The spaceship quest is a bit different now. So when you create the spaceship, it will create like a separate incident where you have to defend the spaceship for several days from raiders, which is very different. Split. So pistols are now revolvers and auto pistols. Auto pistols shoot faster for less damage, and revolvers shoot slower for more damage. They're different than just the single regular like pistol that you had before. Boom loops can be milked for chem fuel, which is weird. And there's also a chem fuel generator, which is just like a wood power generator, but you put chem fuel instead. And as you can see here, some items have a construction need, a minimum skill to craft. And that's true for a lot of new objects. So you can't have someone that doesn't know what they're doing making a solar power generator, which requires a level of 6. So a total novice won't be able to do it. Artillery works a bit different now. There is just one type of mortar and many types of shells. So there's like incendiary shells, high explosive shells, regular shells, fire foam shells. There's a few more off the top of my head. I forget what they are. Pawns can be banished, kind of like abandoning them in a caravan. You can just go ahead and banish them, and that gets rid of them. And there's a negative effect for that, but it makes getting rid of pawns you don't want pretty easy, rather than having to give them a horrible death or something like that. And just some other fine tunings and whatnot. But I would say, all in all, it's a pretty solid patch. I'm very, very happy with the features that are in this patch. And I've played, I don't know, a lot of time so far in this Alpha 18, and I haven't really had any bugs. So I'm not sure what Tynan was worried about all the bugs that he didn't want people to see. Alright, so at this point, I'm about 33 minutes into this episode, and I am in dire need of some construction materials, because at this point, my food is obviously dwindling. I'm down to 19 meals left. Probably I'm holding one. So 20 meals out of my original 40. So I've eaten half of my food. I'm pushing towards fall, because it's day 11 out of 15 of summer. And I'm basically running out the clock unless an orbital trade ship comes visiting me, because I kind of have decided that a caravan isn't going to be good enough. Most likely the caravan's only going to have a lot of random crap that I'm not going to care about, like random pieces of clothing, or like Nuturamine or fire foam shells, you know, just random junk, and it's going to have very, very little construction materials. So if I call in a caravan, there's only really going to be, I'm going to have to spend half my silver calling it in, and then I'm only going to be able to buy some random junk and maybe only a little bit of steel or wood, if they have it at all. Which is leaving, for me, way too much to chance and random. So I'm not going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to wait and hope. And hey, as I'm waiting and hoping, here's a bulk goods trader, like almost on demand. So let's go ahead and see what we can't do for him. So right off the bat, I know I'm going to want to sell some of the clothing that we have, the extra pants, the toque, because I'm going to buy this alpaca wool toque, which should be super insulating. So I can sell the crummier toque, because this toque is good for -52. There is a muffalo wool parka, which should be pretty warm as well. But that's a bit too expensive for me, even though I probably want it and need it. I can sell off 10 of my gold, because I only need 20 gold for a multi-analyzer. And I'm not going to worry about ship parts just yet, because that's so far into the future, it's ridiculous. What else? What else? So obviously I'm going to want to buy steel and wood. I can buy 600 steel, all their steel, but I think I'm going to buy some wood with it too. So I actually want 250 wood, and then whatever of steel I can afford, which is going to be slightly less than 500. And what I think I'm going to do immediately is put this toque on. So now I'm much warmer, and then I'm going to immediately butcher my polar bear, because I want to sell its hide to the bulk goods trader. But let's warm up so that we're doing it skillfully. I guess we're just about warm enough anyway. And I could have been researching this whole time, but whatever. And then after I deal with this, I can start expanding my my base so that I have room for hydroponics, because that's obviously the most important thing that I could do. So now I have bear meat that I'm obviously keeping because I need to feed myself, but I have a little bit more resources to purchase. 2 more wood and 12 more steel. Doesn't sound like much, but boy does that add up. Alright, so first things first, I'm going to lay out the blueprints for no, that's not my stockpile. This is my stockpile. Blueprints for the new layout. And obviously I have to trim the zone again. My stockpile kind of got bugged. But I also have to maybe forbid that one right now so I can use the base, because otherwise I can't even get inside. And I'm only shivering. I was worried I was colder than that. And I'll just keep working on this. Alright, so I'm going to allow that to be constructed now. So I can, hold on one moment, haul this meal away, and then deconstruct some of the wood stuff that's in there. So I have a metal door and the metal around it for security reasons. So eventually what I'm going to have here is another steel door and another steel door. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this zone here. So let's haul this bear meat away. That's away enough. And this is a lot of steel that I'm using up, which leaves me a lot more wood as a construction material, but I'd rather have security. Some additional security. So, yeah, let's haul that stuff out. And immediately I'm going to move the bed and set up hydroponic basins. And then we will have a sun lamp. And I think I can afford some furniture too. So we'll have, oops, that's not where I meant for it to be. So let's have an end table, sun lamp, stool. Looking good so far. Let's haul this knife outside. So the bulk goods trader has left. We're not hindered, so we're going to make as poor, but as good stuff as we could. Let's go ahead and change our work to make, well, alright, let's see. I need, first off, more power. Right? And I'm running, not, I wouldn't say low on my steel, but obviously I don't have an infinite amount of it. So I need to be careful. So I have 125 more steel. Oh, and I've already have most of it, or more than half of it in the wind turbine. So I'm okay there. So I think I'll be able to make one more battery after making this wind turbine. Or one more heater, really. I think I need the heater more than the battery. I need both, to be honest, but... Oh, I also need an electric stove. Crap. I need a lot of stuff, don't I? So I'm running out of meals. Putting one steel at a time. It's an interesting strategy. So definitely flick this light off. It's just draining my batteries for no reason for now. Now we have double the power. Alright, so I have a lot of wood left over. I do eventually want to double insulate, but I don't want my outside stuff made of wood, because that's a horrible idea. I could do a hand tailor bench, like here maybe. Once again, I don't want to use up any wood that I don't need to use up, and I don't really have materials to use a bench with right now. So I have, I guess I'm going to need to make a heater, because it was too cold inside to grow right now. And I don't want to burn all my wood. So as much as I wanted another battery, a heater wins out. So I'll get sewing and flick the lights back on. So if I could get a cargo pod of steel right now, that'd be swell. Okay, game sends me a psychic instead. I understand. I've asked for too much. So I have to keep a pretty close eye on my battery life, because it is pretty easy to drain that out and then all the plants die. Especially with just one battery. Pirate. I have no idea what you buy, but yep, you have nothing I want. Let's go ahead and turn this orbital trade beacon off. So it's a little cozy in here. This ugly little, rather tight bedroom. Certainly not the best bedroom I've ever slept in, but bakers can't be choosy. So it's about negative 67 Celsius, negative 90 Fahrenheit, if you were curious. It's fluctuating a lot, but I just want to kind of give you rough idea of the temperature that I'm dealing with. Alright, nice. Full speed, full wind ahead. Charge that battery up. Wanderer joins. Okay. Let's have you wear your toque. Forcefully wear your toque. You're going to make it here. Oh, and you have some survival meals. I bet you wish you didn't. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter to you because you're dead anywhere. Sarah. Sarah, I guess is your name. Oh, I'm not making you a bed. I'm making you a grave. Oh, another thing I could do is try for a better bed. Although I have a good bed. I mean, that's fine. Alright, so Sarah here is going to drop everything. Even the crummy toque that I probably don't need. And then she's going to construct her own grave. Ooh, and I'm getting raided by tribespeople. By 8, no, tribes people. There's 2. And they have some warm stuff too. Right, let's go stand by your grave. And look into it. As if it were an inescapable abyss. Alright, pirate merchant left. I really need exotic goods. That's what I'm after now. Okay, so let's use our butcher table for cover. I'd like that wool duster. That's pretty well insulating. I just don't want to destroy it. Oh, speaking of destroy it, this guy is still coming at me pretty quick. Oh, excuse me? You're going to break that? Alright, I draw the line. Alright, now they're fleeing. Unfortunately, that duster's now a dead person's duster, but it will sell, I suppose. Maybe I can get this parka. Although that's not as warm. Nope. Nopey, nope, nope, nope. Okay, so I'm going to strip them, probably. Let's see how much the duster's worth. 17 bucks and 3 bucks. I'm going to go ahead and bury him with what he has on. What about you? $6. Yeah, I'm going to bury both of them with what they have on. Once it becomes dead man gear, it becomes pretty worthless pretty quick. Can't believe they were breaking my horseshoe pin. I paid so much for that. I could always break down the horseshoe pin and replace it as wood horseshoe pin. Well, these guys' knives at least weren't that crummy. So that's a plus. Another plus is I have a decent amount of wind power right now, so I can run my grow light. Because sometimes I'll have to turn off the grow light to conserve power. So I would say it's a pretty good first episode. Obviously, I need to rely on some more luck for some more trade. Ideally, I want to be able to sell off my Glitter World medicine, and then buy some more materials. And then additionally, it wouldn't hurt to. All right, first off, let's put a little stockpile here. Call this kitchen. And it will store normal priority of everything but meals. And then stockpile here called meals. Surprise, surprise. Store everything that are meals. Eventually I'm going to have an electric stove here once I can afford it. The trouble is I can't afford it. And I didn't plan that out very well. If I could break down some of my steel doors for wood ones, I guess. That's not a very efficient way of going about it, but that might be what I have to do. I might have to break down this stuff here and replace it with wood. But I'm not going to be able to do that until my first potato plants grow. Basically, long story short, I planned poorly and used more steel than I should have. And now I'm hoping for some redemption. I can also keep these little daggers if no one wants to buy them and smelt them down as well, because they're just as good as slag in a pinch. So if I broke this down, this is what, 5, 30, 35, 40, 65 steel that went into it, and 65 times 75%, because I only get back 75%, I get about 48 steel from here, plus this. I'd have to break down all of it, literally all of it, to be able to make a stove. So I'm going to hold off until I'm absolutely starving. Oh, plus I get 25, so 65 plus 25 that are in the research bench, so that's 90. 90 times 0.75 is 67, plus 8 is 75, so I have 75. If I break this stuff down, I have 75 out of the 80 I need, and then I'd only need to break down, you know, these 2 walls and replace them with wood. Alright, needless to say, it's really not ideal if I have to break down anything. Ideally, I want to get some more steel without having to break anything. So I'm hoping that I get offered some more steel, whether it's through cargo pods or something. Yeah, I'm looking at it realistically. I might have to break things down. And we have a raid. Why can't these raiders ever bring, you know, materials? Alright, so parka. Oh, this guy has some nice clothing. And I think they were, what, attacking him? No, they're wandering. Yeah, they're prepping. So it's possible they actually freeze to death and not attack immediately, which is fine by me. In my teeny little base with my teeny little research bench. We're almost done with all the research I actually want to get done. Let's see if they're getting hypothermic. Yes, they are. They're not very hypothermic, though. One has a knife, the other has an Iqua. I will have to fight them. I'm ready for that, though. Alright, so this is the guy with the worse clothing. This guy's better clothing. Alright, let's go ahead and strip you. Oh, it's an excellent Iqua. I don't want to ruin his clothing, though. Ooh, I shot his leg pretty hard. Oh, okay. Well, that's one way to ruin clothing. I punched him. What happened there? I mercilessly struck him in the right leg, and he died from it. That doesn't seem very realistic to me. But unfortunately for me, it does mean that his body, his clothing is basically worthless to me. This Iqua, however, fetches a pretty nice market value. So I'm hauling in his toque and his parka, even his tribal leatherware, because it's still worth a pretty penny. I don't know who buys them. I guess exotic goods buy tribal stuff, if I recall correctly. And then we bury them. This toque is letting me operate in pretty frigid temperatures for a pretty decent amount of time. So all these steel tools, however, I could sell them, or I could try to slag them. You know, smelt them down. Oh, maybe I'm about to sell them. think I am. I'm going to warm up a little bit. Actually, I'll sleep a little bit. Sleep and warm up because I want to get a better deal on these. Oh, I need an orbital trade beacon. Yeah, don't I? All right, let's flick that back on. And then go ahead and trade. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and sell this off rather than have it broken down at some later date. I think it's cheaper this way. Because that gives me a little bit of silver for trade. Not much. Really not much. I'm still praying that an exotic goods comes by and is like, hey, guess what? Ooh, or cargo pods. Alpaca wool. That's not terrible. That's actually pretty handy. Not going to turn that down. I can tailor that into quite a nice something. All right. Coming up on my hour here. So what I'm going to do here is haul in that wool ASAP, because that's awesome. And then haul in all the slag, because that's also awesome. So this wool is obviously going to go into maybe a parka, so I'm super, super warm. And I don't really want to deal with a refugee right now. I want to get this wool in, so I'm going to turn her down. So there's 2 more loads of wool left for me to make. And if I make that into a jacket, maybe not a parka, because parkas make me move slower, although they're warmer. Maybe make it into a jacket, or both. I will be able to stay warm really efficiently, which will be pretty cool. Pretty cool to have that on first episode. Alright, going back out there. Trying to get all that wool before it deteriorates. Takes a while. This thick snow is really not easy to move in. Oh, I have 3 more loads, or 2 more now. Yeah, even if I had like bionic legs as a jogger, this stuff is super slow. Like, I'm moving at 366, which is by no means quick. Considering right now inside, actually I don't even know, 4.3 now on this regular ice. All right, let's go back for some more. Oh, no, go to sleep. That's fine. It was your bedtime after all. So our plants are grown almost 70%, which is pretty good. And we have a bunch of meat to use once I have the vegetables. No stove yet, but I can always cook using a campfire. Build 1 campfire, waste 20 wood, but cook all my food that I can make in that time period. All right, and we're hauling the second to last haul of alpaca wool, and I'm gonna grab it all. I'm not gonna leave any of it out there. But what I am gonna risk right now is, ooh, this is a bit of a nail biter. Wind, pick up. Wind, pick up. Right now, the grow light is draining the bejesus out of my battery, and I'm not home to turn that off. And I would drop my wool and just run for it. Oh, but the wind's picking up. Had some mercy. Ooh, I'm getting hypothermic. I'm going to flick this off because we just don't have the power for it at the moment. Even with that off, we're barely regaining power. So now that we have smelting, I'm going to go ahead and break that down. I no longer have use for it. So got 19 out of the 25 steel back. And install this stuff. Let's make it fancy. Oh. Yeah, it covers it. This makes this room a little less tight to maybe install. Yeah, redesigning it. I realize it's all silly, but you know, bear with me. All right, so let's put that there. Let's leave that there. I didn't mean to turn the light back on. Why'd you open this door and not close it? I have no idea. Let's get a little bit warmer. Okay, let's go for the last of the alpaca wool because it's temperature sensitive or environment sensitive. While the wind fills up these batteries as best as it can. Generally, I'm going to try to only turn that grow light on when we're at 50% or more battery. Alright, so this stuff is getting hard to haul back because I get so cold trying to get there now that we're in the 3rd of autumn. But this alpaca wool stuff is certainly going to help. With that said, I'm just about out of time, or I'm actually flat out of time, so I'm going to end the episode here. And if you have any comments or questions, please let me know. I would love to read or watch some of your own attempts at this. And I hope to catch all of you later, and thank you for watching. So adios, everyone, and good luck out there.